Amazon Prime Jack Reacher actor, Mr. Alan Ritchson, may be in a spot of trouble. At least that's what his neighbor thought, his neighbor being the guy that you just saw on the ground. This is something that really happened in March of 2026. What's going on here? And moreover, when can you use non-deadly force when you're responding against non-deadly force? I'm an ex-state prosecutor, criminal defense attorney. I'm going to be breaking down what I see on the videos here. There are some mind-blowing lessons that to me, I call Monday. To you and many other clients, they're shell-shocked when they see what I have to tell them. So folks, let's get into it. So here's the very quick overview about what happened. So Mr. Alan Ritchson, that's the big guy in the motorcycle helmet. He's the actor who plays Jack Reacher on Amazon Prime. He was riding his motorcycle through his neighborhood in Brentwood, Tennessee. This is a suburb of Nashville. His two young sons were behind him. You can see them kind of going in and out of the camera shots on their own motorcycles. A neighbor named Ronnie Taylor, he's the gentleman in blue, had become pretty annoyed about the noise, and he alleged that the Reacher star, Mr. Ritchson, was going too fast and was endangering folks in the neighborhood. He cited to children playing and all this other kind of stuff, and he decided to take things into his own hands. So here's what the concerned neighbor in the blue shirt, who you just saw getting hit by Mr. Ritchson, has to say about what took place in his own words.
And on Sunday, when I was cleaning my bike outside my house, he rode past once, twice, and on the second time I walked out in front of him and I said, "You've got to stop. Someone's going to get hurt." And it escalated quite quickly from there. I did push him because he was coming towards me on his bike. He did it again for a second time. I pushed him a second time. And I think the second time he got off his bike and it kicked the crap out of me.
And of course, what Mr. Taylor is talking about ends up looking like this on a neighbor who is taping it. Yikes. Obviously, this isn't a very good look, but if you've been around a case like this once, twice, like I don't know how many hundreds of times, where we're talking about, forget neighbor disputes, we're talking about just straight up use of force. We're talking about strong possibility of a valid self-defense claim coming in here, then you know, don't buy the first thing that someone's trying to sell you. Let's take a look at all of the evidence, and it's always important to hear from the other side, regardless of who that person is. Mr. Ritchson was, no doubt, looking at some very potentially serious charges. Depending upon the nature of the injuries sustained by Mr. Taylor, you're looking at obviously disorderly conduct, you're looking at some type of battery. Battery comes in different levels. It goes from typically, depending on the state you're in, a forfeiture violation, so some sort of non-criminal, think like a speeding ticket, something like that, to low crimes, misdemeanors. This is typically where if you just made intentional force against someone else, this could be a poke that caused them harm, which there's a really good chance the state you're in defines harm as pain or discomfort, then you're likely looking at some sort of non-felony crime. So like a misdemeanor is what we would say in most states. Some states use different vocabulary. And you could be looking at very easily jail time of up to a year in many cases, not to mention thousands of dollars in fines. And then if you're in a career that has understandably sensitive public perceptions, you could wind up being canceled. And maybe deservedly so, as the case might be. However, in this case, we're going to talk about whether or not that case should be. You see, Mr. Ritchson was actually wearing a body camera, and the body camera told a rather different story than what you just heard Mr. Taylor set up. We're going to cut to it. We're going to cut it up in spots because it's a couple minutes long, the whole thing. And I don't know why, but whoever uploaded it to the internet put a really weird, energy music over it, so it's a little tough to make things out. So you're going to be seeing parts of it. I'm going to be pausing it. I'm going to be talking you through what I see as an ex-state prosecutor, criminal defense attorney, as we start to move into, look, who is really the victim here, legally speaking, and it might actually surprise you. So here's the view from Mr. Ritchson as he's driving down the street. Keep in mind, he's got his two kids behind him. You can see Mr. Taylor on the side of the road up ahead. What happens next? Okay, so a lot of really important things just happened there. Mr. Ritchson was lawfully operating his motorcycle. Maybe he was speeding, I don't know, okay? But if he was doing anything that was genuinely putting someone else's lives in danger, didn't see it here. He's driving down the road, and Mr. Taylor actually steps out in front of him at the very last minute. Now keep in mind, this isn't someone who doesn't know anything about motorcycles. Mr. Taylor actually said that he's been riding motorcycles basically his entire life.
And I'm an experienced motorcycle rider. I've been riding bikes all my life. So, from dirt bikes to street bikes and etc. But
what's the relevance of that? Anybody who rides knows it's going to be really tough to go from 10 miles per hour to a dead stop when someone shuffles or runs immediately in front of you. Really good chance you're going down. Very high likelihood, depending upon how your bike's set up, of damage to the bike and potentially to yourself. Now, this is made only worse for Mr. Taylor. Mr. Taylor, again, being the gentleman in blue who stepped in front of the motorcycle, because not only does he have the mens rea, not only does he have the mental knowledge and purpose of the fact that, yeah, this is a foreseeable and likely outcome if I do this, as opposed to somebody who doesn't know anything about motorcycles and thinks he can just come to a full and complete stop in a safe fashion just like anyone in a car can. So not only does he have that going against him, Mr. Taylor, but then on top of it, according to unnamed sources around this event, so that's code for some sort of witness, Mr. Taylor allegedly actually pushed Mr. Ritchson down. So he not only stepped out in front, but it sounds like allegedly, and again, I wasn't there, I don't know what happened, but based on how the stories around this event have been worded, it sounds to me like people have alleged that Mr. Taylor actually pushed Mr. Ritchson down on the ground. So you've got both negligence and possibly even intent on the side of Mr. Taylor, who reasonably and foreseeably saw that there was an event that would lead to very likely property damage to the motorcycle, very possible human damage and injury to Mr. Ritchson, the rider, should he decide to take a certain course of action, and he dove right in. Now, generally speaking, most states, you are allowed to use non-deadly force to terminate an unlawful non-deadly interference with your person or property. Let me put that to you in English now. In most states, that's code for check your local listings. I don't know what the laws are where you are and when you are watching this. Check your local listings. In most states, you are allowed to use non-deadly physical force to stop somebody who is messing with you or your stuff. But there has to be a proportionality and relationship to that force. Let me give you an example. If someone is poking you, just literally physically poking you, that doesn't mean that you can just pistol whip them to the face. There's no proportionality there. That's why I said you can use reasonable non-deadly force. That would be an example of, number one, potentially deadly force, but number two, unreasonable deadly force, because it was disproportionate to what you were suffering, and it was also disproportionate to what would likely be needed to stop the interference. Do you see how that works? And again, this might vary from place to place. So then, as you saw in the video, Mr. Ritchson gets up and he actually ends up giving him a push to get away from him. So for all you Mr. Taylor fans out there, aha, Mr. Ritchson just assaulted Mr. Taylor. Okay, he definitely, with intent, did make physical contact. Depending upon your state, assault, battery, disorderly conduct, whatever it is, there's going to be an argument for that. The flip side for Mr. Ritchson is the fact that, was he not just assaulted himself? And now he's got this guy who, at a minimum, made him, with intent, crash his bike. Keep in mind, Mr. Taylor said he's been riding his bike his whole life. He knew this is what was going to happen, speaking as someone who rides motorcycles himself. But moreover, we also have this possibility, according to witnesses, that Mr. Taylor actually assaulted Mr. Ritchson by pushing him down off the bike. So now we actually have a question of Mr. Ritchson shoving Mr. Taylor. Was that in self-defense to get him away? Again, Mr. Taylor just assaulted him once, possibly twice, depending upon how you want to look at it, resulting in likely, I'm sure he got a bruise or something off of spilling off his bike, and I'm sure the bike has some dollar amount of damage to it. So, was that a lawful push to terminate the unlawful interference, to stop the unlawful interference for Mr. Ritchson defending himself from Mr. Taylor? You can start to see how this wheel turns. Let's keep going at the video.
Are you kidding me, bro? Hold on.
So we definitely wind up seeing some fighting language here. Now, fighting language is a very nebulous term. It is something that you do pick up in law school, fighting language. Let me define it for you here. Generally, when people are talking about fighting language, they're talking about, well, language that tends to be part of a fight or provoking a fight. All those kind of threats, the trash talking, you name it. Here, we've got questions surrounding, did Mr. Taylor consent to a fight? If I taunt and tell someone, hit me, we call that consent under the law. Now, look, I'm not saying that it's prudent to follow through just because you get a legal green light, and I'm also not saying that that light is always green. But you can start to see the issues rise. Keep in mind, if it was illegal to hit someone, even with their consent, there's no martial arts, there's no any kind of contact sport. Ice hockey, American football, even soccer, certainly basketball. It goes on and on and on. Any sport where you're knowingly and intentionally making physical contact with another person, that's arguably an arrestable offense. But the reason why it's not is because you are consenting to that foreseeable conduct, that foreseeable contact and force used against you when you knowingly participate in that event. Now, obviously, if someone's conduct goes well outside the purview of that sport, if, for instance, someone takes off their hockey skate and tries to cut someone else's throat, that is way beyond what was reasonably foreseeable and what you therefore consented to when you stepped out onto the ice. You see how that works? Right. Hopefully you do. Let's keep going. So very important, you saw Mr. Ritchson disengage, retreat, and break off. This is clearly demonstrating his intention that he's not there to fight, regardless of whatever some neighbor says, and regardless of whatever that neighbor actually just did. If he wanted to keep pressing the attack, and look at him, he's not a small guy. I have a feeling, without knowing his martial arts background, if he has any martial arts background, that if there's an altercation between these two, my money's on him. The point is that he disengaged, walked back to his bike, and tried to leave the scene. And Mr. Taylor, once more, came off his lawn onto the road, got in his way, and engaged with him a second time. Now, at this point, I've got to ask the question, is this not a felony that Mr. Taylor is perpetrating against Mr. Ritchson? What am I talking about? There's a felony out there. It's a felony in most states called false imprisonment. False imprisonment is the notion that if I don't have a legal purpose, if I don't have a legal justification or privilege to do so, I can't hold someone against their will. Now, sometimes there are legal purposes, there are legal reasons, there are privileges. For instance, law enforcement are charged with the legal ability to arrest people. That is certainly a taking and holding of someone, but they are given a clean sheet to go ahead and do that. They have the law behind them when they act that way. There's exceptions to everything, but I'm not getting into those right now. If you want to know some of the exceptions, drop me down in the comment field below. Here we now have Mr. Taylor, who is potentially, by once more refusing to let Mr. Ritchson leave the scene after he stopped him the first time. Mr. Taylor is making it very clear, I suppose, one of two different things. A, you are not leaving, false imprisonment, or B, you are at a minimum not leaving with your motorcycle. So we could be looking at some sort of theft. In the civil world, we might be talking about that as a conversion of property. I don't know what the exact value of that Kawasaki motorcycle was. It didn't look like a Ninja, a 500, 650, Z900 or anything like that. It looked like one of the spicier ones. It's going to be over, I'm sure, whatever the felony theft hold for cash is, for cash value, which is in most states, it's usually like $5,000. Some states also have certain special facts clauses where if you take someone's firearm or their car or controlled substance, that often kicks it up to an auto felony, something like that. So if you steal someone's medication, right? If it's a controlled substance medication, oftentimes auto felony. Any firearm, even if it's worth $200, auto felony. So there's multiple different ways how potentially Mr. Taylor is committing at least one, potentially more felonies against Mr. Ritchson. And then Mr. Ritchson goes down again. Now, he is revving his motorcycle at him. If I'm Mr. Taylor, I'm of course going to say he did this in a threatening manner. He is threatening my life. And therefore, I don't know if Mr. Taylor did push him down. Again, we've got the same question as before, where it sounds like witnesses are alleging or maybe alleging that Mr. Taylor pushed down Mr. Ritchson. Mr. Taylor, in this case, might say, I did it to protect myself in self-defense because I didn't want him uncorking his 150, 200 horsepower motorcycle directly into my abdomen or something like that. Of course, the counter argument from Mr. Ritchson's side, or the prosecution that is, against Mr. Taylor, pretty straightforward. You were on your lawn, you came off, you initiated this again, and then you stepped in his way to stop him again. Are you really privileged to use self-defense if you're the one that provoked and are continuing the encounter? The answer to that, almost always never. Almost always never. If you provoke an encounter, like if I go in to rob a liquor store, and if I pull out a knife to rob the cashier, and the cashier pulls out a Smith & Wesson 686 357 Magnum back, I can't stab the cashier and claim self-defense. Now, that's a very useful thing to keep in mind, because while obviously what Mr. Taylor did is nowhere near that, you can see the same principles apply. He provoked the second legal encounter, and it's very important that you understand that. We have two legal encounters here at a minimum. The first one starts when Mr. Ritchson gets taken off his motorcycle, and it ends when he is retreating back to his motorcycle. That is all incident number one. As soon as Mr. Ritchson begins his retreat, whatever argument Mr. Taylor may or may not have ever had for self-defense is now gone, because the incident is over once someone starts to withdraw from it. Likewise, whatever argument or justifications there were for attacking Mr. Ritchson, claiming that he was not able to use self-defense, look, he's clearly retreated from this situation, and he seemingly is trying to leave. Ball's back in his court now. If it ever left in the first place, ball's firmly back in his court for self-defense, particularly given when Mr. Taylor then comes off his lawn. And keep in mind as well, he also has his two sons there. I don't know what their comfort in riding is. I didn't spend tons of time studying the bikes they were riding. They looked like kind of like, 100cc, 50cc, 125cc, something like that bikes. For all I know, these kids have 1,000 hours on dirt bikes, and these guys are expert riders. For all I know, this is their second day out. I have no idea. But I certainly, as a father myself, can't blame Mr. Ritchson for wanting to keep himself between his sons, or daughters, but I think he said sons, and Mr. Taylor, who has now not only done one assault potentially, but two assaults against Mr. Ritchson. Hey, please excuse this brief interruption to bring you a word from our sponsor, me, or more specifically, my law firm. You see, what you may not know about me is I'm not only an ex-prosecutor, criminal defense attorney, but I employ a few dozen attorneys all over the great state of Wisconsin. My firm handles criminal defense, traffic law, divorce, family law, as well as estate planning all across the dairy state. We've got different wings of different attorneys doing different things, so you don't have to have some sort of just generalist handling your case should you decide to come in. So what's the ask? Well, look, if you've been with me for my journey of, at this point, about 10 years and counting, not all of them on my own YouTube channel, but about 10 years and counting of putting out free legal education content that's out there, first off, thank you for joining me, and thanks for watching this video. And if all you can do is just keep watching, hitting the like button, sharing it around, commenting, thank you. And I really do mean that. However, if you want to take it one step further, please consider following the directions below, both in the description box as well as in a pinned comment down in the comment discussion field, about how you can leave a 5-star review. So again, if you can do that, I tremendously appreciate it. Not only myself, but everyone else want to thank you for doing that too, because it helps us bring our mission across Wisconsin. Don't forget to stick around to the end of the video for our ever popular quote of the day. Now back to the show. Of course, after this is where we then get the fly-by-night media and their video. So now let's talk about that last bit here, what you just saw again and what you saw when we first kicked this off, because that's what everyone saw and it didn't look good. And then of course you stack this neighbor. He's got that wonderful British accent that everyone in America tends to fall for. Yeah, that's a wicked 1-2 punch. But suddenly you start to see the whole thing. And now let's talk about where we started with this video of Mr. Taylor on the ground being struck by Mr. Ritchson. If I'm the prosecutor trying to prosecute Mr. Ritchson, my argument is pretty straightforward. He got pushed off his bike or he fell off his bike, whatever it is. He could have gotten right back on. He could have walked away. He could have done any of those things. But instead, Mr. Ritchson chose violence against his neighbor, Mr. Taylor, who of course was only looking out for the neighborhood children, as he said in that interview. He got him to the ground. And not only then, he said, "Stay there," and then kept hitting him multiple times. Was that necessary? Was that necessary? The prosecutor, of course, would say no. If I'm the defense attorney for Mr. Ritchson, I answer that with absolutely yes. But why? Because I tried to get past Mr. Taylor in a peaceful fashion, not once, but twice. I was at a minimum stopped, at a maximum assaulted and pushed to the ground, resulting in damage to, likely bruises to Mr. Ritchson at a minimum, damage to his bike as well. That's, of course, before the fighting language from Mr. Taylor. That's before the false imprisonment and the other potential felonies that were committed against Mr. Ritchson. But then, ultimately, Mr. Ritchson, fool me once, that's on me. He tried to leave once, he got shut down. Mr. Taylor took him off his bike twice. In what world does Mr. Ritchson believe that Mr. Taylor is going to let him leave peaceably again? That's why he told him to stay down. And he reasonably used self-defense, defensive force to ensure that the physical confrontation and attack that was started and then continued in both legal incidents, in both legal episodes and chapters to this event. And that's the reason why he had to strike Mr. Taylor defensively to make sure that both of the attacks were over and there would be no third attack. Just because Mr. Ritchson wasn't seriously hurt falling off his bike not once but twice doesn't mean that he may not be seriously hurt a third time, which at this point, Mr. Taylor's done it twice. What's to say a third time won't be the charm, and he ends up with a broken ankle, leg, you name it. Mr. Taylor's pattern, not single incident, pattern of assault, potential felonies, and violence against Mr. Ritchson are clear at this point, and that is what activated the reasonable, non-deadly use of force by Mr. Ritchson. And that's why it comes as no surprise to me that after reviewing all of the videos and interviewing witnesses, there were no charges pressed against Mr. Ritchson for this. Moreover, from the sound of it, Mr. Ritchson also declined prosecution against Mr. Taylor as well. So I suppose all's well that ends well. Hopefully Mr. Taylor learned a lesson. Hopefully Mr. Ritchson learned a lesson about this too. You never know what crazy people are going to be doing out there. I'm very impressed that he had his own GoPro camera mounted to his chest. Obviously, that probably really saved him here. I don't know what all was captured before and after incidents, but suffice it to say, that was extraordinarily powerful testimony by way of the camera. And in our society today, for better or worse, that really tends to have the first and last word. But tell me, what did you guys all think about this? We tend to deal with a lot of deadly force on this channel. As a firearm and gun attorney, and my firm representing oftentimes dozens of folks over the course of a year in lawful deadly use of force, lawful self-defense with a firearm, I see these cases quite literally day in, day out. What do you think about the non-deadly use of force here? What interesting things struck you about it? And are there other cases like this that you're interested in having me take a look at as well? If so, post them up, post up your thoughts, post up your questions, post up your feedback. Don't forget to hit that like button, share the video around, and let's close out with our ever popular quote of the day. Our quote of the day comes from the one, the only, George Washington. Quote, "The very atmosphere of firearms everywhere restrains evil interference. They deserve a place of honor with all that is good." End quote. I appreciate you and all who are good that are out there. I'll see you in the comments section. I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Thanks for joining us on that video. And if you liked that one, then I think you're going to like these over here too.